Hello, and today I'm going to be taking us through the RapidQuote estimating software. So just before we start by creating our project, what I'm going to do is just upload the different drawings which I'm going to need. So I'm going to come up here and press on my cloud storage button, just here, the little folder icon. Now this is going to bring up all the different cloud storage locations where I can upload all of my drawings, where the exported reports from the software are going to go to, and where we'll be able to find completed taken off versions of the drawings that we've done. So I'm just going to go into my drawing folder in here. Now I do have the ability of creating my own folder structures in here if I wanted to. I can also get directly onto my own network drives, as well as being able to access my Dropbox or OneDrive. But what I'm going to simply do today is just minimize the software and copy and paste the drawings from my desktop and then upload them onto the cloud just like that. So that's going to be copying over for us. So now I'm just going to come down here and open up the estimating software back up for us. So now what I can do, just while that's all copying in, is I'm just going to press my new project button, and this is going to take us to the create project screen. So the only thing that we have to fill in on this screen is actually the project code itself. The project name and the client name and notes, we can come back and fill all of those in later on if we need to. So I'm just going to start us off just by putting in a bit of an example project code for us and basic name, and then an example client in here as well. Okay, so now that all of that is done, all we can do is simply press the OK button. This will actually now start to create the job for us, and it's going to take us forth onto the estimate screen. Now the purpose of this screen is the fact of we could go through and add in different items, whether that would be from our stored database or any assemblies that we've created up, or any of our manual takeoff functions. So this way you would be able to go through, construct your sectional structure and add in your relevant different items without even having to do any of the takeoff actually on the software. But what I am going to take us through the process of doing it live on a drawing, but still using these same buttons here. So I'm going to take us back to the takeoff screen, and what we're going to want to do on here is actually upload our drawings onto this project. As we've already uploaded the drawings onto the cloud, it's going to make it a little bit easier for us. So all we have to do to get started is just press this plus icon here. So obviously if you hover over it, you can see it says add drawings, so we can add them directly to the project. Give that button a click. That's going to straight away always load us up inside of this drawing folder, so that we can simply go through, highlight the drawings in which we need if there is a couple, and then press the open button. And then if we just give that a second, that's going to then load up the drawings onto the project for us. So here I can see one of my drawings, and if I click on my drop down menu here, I can actually go through and then flick back onto the other drawing in which I've uploaded. Now in this particular example of what I've got is I've got a groundswork drawing and a groundswork set database, just to show you some of the functionalities. But effectively this software can be used for any form of construction or anything along the lines of that, where you actually get the PDF drawing documents. We should be able to create a database and assist you and help you around creating all of that. So what I'm going to do first is just go through and set the scale for this drawing. So if I come down here and I just zoom in, to zoom in, by the way, I'm simply using my mouse wheel. You can alternatively just use these plus and minus icons if that's easier for you. So it says the scale here is 1 to 200, and that's going to be in metric. So I'm going to come up here, and this is where I can select my scale and give that a press, select the scale in which I need, and then I can go from there. Now if we were unsure on the scale, we can use our custom scale feature, where we are able to measure a small known distance and then input that actually onto the software, so the software can create us a scale. This always works as a bit of a fail-safe if the drawing doesn't seem to be coming out correctly, or if it simply just doesn't have a scale on it. So now that we've gone through and we've got our scale set, we're now actually ready to start going through and doing our various different bits of takeoff. But what I'm going to do, and you don't necessarily have to do this if you don't need to, but I'm going to use our sections portion over here. So this will allow us to create a sectional breakdown, so then when we produce our reports or our quotations, it's going to be broken up in that way. This can be suitable if your client, for example, has requested that the quotation comes back in a very particular way. So this can be done as simple as inputting the different drawing numbers, which will actually go on automatically. So you can just correspond your labeling up with that. Or you could simply break this down into different locations with different services or anything like that. So for example, because I'm using the groundworks, I'm just going to import the fact of I am excavating these particular areas. And then if I needed to supply any particular areas with other bits, I might make myself a supply section. So now it's broken up between what my labour only is going to be and then what I'm going to go through and supply. And there we are. Now, depending on where I'd like the information to be stored, that literally all that depends on is which section you have highlighted currently, so which one is showing up in this green colour. And then as we go through and start to use any of the takeoff functions, we're going to start to see all of that all start to populate the takeoff quantities field down here. Now, if we did actually need to add any subsections onto this, all we have to do is go down to our next level. So we have B being a subsection of A, C sub of C, B, sorry, and D sub of C. So all we do, if I want to break that up, is I have supply highlighted, and then I go to the plus, B, and then press the plus icon, sorry. Now, as you can see, that turns my section into a little folder icon, and it's put this new section inside of that. So now I can break this up into different various structures. So for example, I might have manholes, and then I might have some pipe work in there as well if I needed, just as a bit of an example. And then to actually go through, and if you need to remove any of your sections, it's quite easy. Have it highlighted and simply just press your X symbol. And it's going to come up as you want to confirm it, so press yes, and that's all you have to do. Now it will fold away that, so you just simply open it again. One bit of a safety feature is the fact that you can't actually delete a main headed folder. You have to remove all of the subsections within it, and that will remove the main folder itself. So as you can see now, the supply section has gone. So I'm just going to quickly add that supply section back in for us, just like that, and then I'm going to go back to the excavating section. Okay, so now that we've got all of our section structures all created, this is then where we actually want to start looking at the drawing and then figuring out what it is that we actually need to be doing. So what I'm going to just do for the sake of this today is I'm going to excavate these supposed runs down here that we can see. So I actually have the database set up for that, so I'm going to go to this button, the add item. Now what this shows us is the database in which we have created to be suitable for this particular industry. This is what I meant earlier on when I was saying we can assist you in creating a suitable database for whatever industry it is that you're working in. So all I have to do is select which category, and then as you can see we've then sorted the items out into different categories or manufacturers if you'd prefer to have it set up in that way, and then with subheadings, and then finally the item groups, which will then hold the various different items within the different databases. Then these items that we've actually got saved in the database, we can go through, we can set what type of measuring we'd want this to be, unit measure, linear, area, just as a couple of examples. We can then input a basic cost of materials, which can be set up either with your net rate, or we can input it in as list price and then have a discount percentage taking this price away if this is something which fluctuates quite often for yourself. And then what you'll be able to notice in some particular parts of my database at the minute is that some will have site time and some will have site cost filled in. So it doesn't matter if you particularly do your estimates based off of this in a labour regard, whether that's based off of time with an hourly rate, or whether it's a simply cost per fit, if you will. So let me just go through and just select a different option. There we are. There's some site costs, for example, that we can see here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to choose these excavate the trenches with my different pipe diameter, and then actually how deep we want that to all be measured. And as you can see, this is going to give us a square meter, and then we are going to be measuring it in a linear length. So I'm just going to select this item here, and as you can see, I've actually got that to pre-fill my height for me. We can have this as something as a little bit of a variable if you wanted to, so you can go through and change that each time you need to use it. and we can also go through and select what color takeoff it is that we would prefer to use as well. So in this particular instance, I'm going to use red, and then I'm just going to press start. Sorry, I've missed my volume out of here, that's my mistake. So, and that's asking for it in meters. So let's put 0.1 and press start. And then now what I can do is now simply just come down here and follow my run. So I'm going to start on this one, the FWDC. Left click there, and as you can see, it's moving my line over. So I'm going to left click to this pivot point, and then I'm going to go all the way down to the next pivot point. And as you can see, that allows me to do one long measure whilst I'm going along, and up to this final point here. Now I can easily just move myself with my mouse wheel if you hold it down, and that will use the pan tool, or if I preferred, I could come over here and use my arrows. So I'm going to just move down to this point, and then finally the last point of the drawing here. And now that I need to come back up and measure here, what I need to do is finalize what I've done so far with a right click. So if I right click that then, as you can see over here, inputs the total amount of which I've measured. And now what I can do using my left click again is then start my new point and then measure from there to then carry on down my run. Left click, and then once again finalize it with a right click. Now if you have gone a little bit sort of off skew, like I have a little bit, and you wanted to neaten that up, simply highlight the line in which you've pressed and you'll see your different pivot points. So you've got the white one, which is showing you your main turning point of where you started from, and then you've got these little yellow ones if you wanted to alter the angle in which you've measured. So as you can see, I can easily pull that down, and I could neaten it up here if I wanted to make sure that was exactly on the line. Okay, so that's then given me these two different measures, but not to worry, because when I go over onto my estimate tab, I'll quickly show us now, it actually combines those together due to it being the same item, just to give us one quantity of what we would have to do. Okay, so that's just one option of what we could do just out of the database. There is alternatively what we refer to as assemblies. So what these are is grouped together items from our different items that we have in our database. So the assembly databases can be really quite powerful with regards to what information this is actually going to have on the system, and what and the amount of items it is that it's going to show. So as you can see, it uses the same sort of categorization which the items use. But now, for example, if I highlight this one and just show you the properties of it, you'll see all of the different items which are from the database, with all their different quantities set up of everything that we need. So when we're going around and doing these countings, rather than doing an individual count for all of these items, we can simply go through, select the one that we want to do. Once again, do the same thing with the colors, and we can actually something we could always do is change the item size of actually how big we want the markers to be. So I'm just going to go for 7mm, for example, and I'm going to change it from red. I'm going to go for a bit more of a green color, so something that is going to stand out on the drawing. And then I'm just going to use these little black circles here as the manhole code, just as a bit of an example for us. Now I have done my count. That is a little bit small of what I've done. So what I can easily do to rectify this is just right click it, undo that one count that I have done, go back and select my item again, and I believe that was due to the sizing of which I've picked. So I'm just going to try that again at 6 pixels, sorry, which has given me a lot more of a suitable size. Now once again, just repeat the process if you do want these symbols to be a little bit bigger for yourself. So I'm just going to go around and I'm going to do my count slightly off of it just to make it a little bit easier, so I don't get the two contrasting colors. Now what I do have to be careful of, because I am counting, is I don't want to use my left click to be dragging myself around. So like I said with the linears, we need to make sure that we're holding our mouse wheel down, or using our sliders over here to move to where we need to go, or we could simply zoom out a little bit if that's a lot easier. Zooming in and out of the drawing can be a fast way of moving around, and going through and doing the exact same thing as what we've done with our linear, and then finalizing that all with a right click. And there we are, and we can see that we've inputted that in now, and it's showing the 7 different counts that I've done here, just to save us from going around and doing them all. Now one thing that may happen, just going back to the section structures, is you might put your item inside the wrong section. That's not a problem at all. Simply press your Manage Sections button, find the item in which is in the wrong area, highlight it, right click, and you'll see you have your copy, cut and duplicate functions, as well as being able to delete items of course as well. So I'm simply just going to cut that out of my excavating section and then paste that into my supply section, as these are a bunch of materials I'm going to have to supply myself, and then press OK. Now that hasn't moved any of the markings off of the drawing. All it's done is adjusted that to my different sections for me. Okay, so that is the database options of either having the single items or the assemblies, and any common items you use as well will go into your frequently used basically. So we've got this, so as soon as you start to use items a lot more, the system will recognize this and put them here as a frequently available option for you. And that's both across the items database as well as the assembly database, which of course you can always search through. And whether if you're searching for particular items descriptions, or if particular items you've used have got certain product codes in, you will also be able to search via these product codes. So what I'm going to do now is just to show off some of the other features that we've got here, is I'm just going to switch over to the other drawing that I've got. So I'm just going to come over to here, and what we've got to do in this particular drawing, in this instance, first thing we've got to do is go through and set the scale, just like what it was previously on the other drawing. So let's go down to the ledger. We can see there it's 1 to 200. So I'm going to set my scale once again in the same way. There we are. Right, and what we've got to do in this particular instance, is go through and do a area or a volume measure to go through and see how much of this particular large area here we actually need to excavate. Rather than using one of the database options up here, I just want to show off the takeoff tools that we have available to us. So we've got the unit takeoff and linear, just for simple unit counts and linear measures, as well as being able to do perimeter, area and volume measures. Now some of these items, when you click into it, are pretty self-explanatory. All we have to do is go through and fill in the description, the colour. A couple of other little things, such as the area measure and the volume measure, do require additional bits of information, such as knowing the height or slope angles in some instances. You can also include any wasted percentage if you wanted to in these particular measures, what we're doing. So what we're going to be doing is going through and doing our volume measure over here, because of the different items that need to be excavated. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to do this again. So input that like that. We can go through and select our colour, and we need to input our height. Now I know that this one is actually at not 1.8 meters. Oh, sorry, 1.2. There we go. So simply press the start button, and then all we have to do now is actually go around and click along our edges. So I'm just going to map out the shape of what it is that we're going to be doing, and you can just simply do this by going to all the different corners. So using my pan tool again to move myself down, and then I can come all the way down to this portion and then start to bring it all the way across. Now sometimes you will have to do a couple of different measures to get them all to fit, but what you'll usually find is you'll be able to do is go through and make your sort of first measurement and then go through and then drag it out, just the same as what we looked at earlier with the linear items, with being able to move it all around to get it more suitable. Now if there is any particular areas in which you don't want to measure, in my particular instance this, there's no need to worry. We do have the cut function in which we can use, which is once highlighted we simply just select this item here, and then we can go through and cut out the different shape in which we don't need there anymore. And you simply do it all along the same process of what we was doing before. And there we go, you can start to cut it out, and then you can start to drag that out if you wanted to as well, and or simply go back through and then cut out a little bit more and drag this all the way over to here, and then simply pull it all the way up there to the top. And then there we go, as you can see there, I've started to remove all of those different bits. Now all you would actually have to go through, and like I keep saying, is pulling out the different shapes or doing additional measures with this, and then it's all going to start to accumulate all together for you to actually tell you how much it is that you need to be doing. Now you may have also noticed that when I have changed drawing, the actual items have disappeared as I've put the items in the wrong place again. So you can see once I come into the manage section button that all these items do still exist and it is all still available. It's just not simply showing to us right now due to what drawing that we're on. But once you go to your estimate tab, you can see everything all comes through all together. Now there is other nice little features that you can do within the software, such as being able to do background removal in particular instances, or you can always come on and manage and rename any of your existing drawings that you've got. And what you should be able to do is actually go through and hide different aspects of the drawing, as well as being able to do additional live measures on the screen, which is what this button here for, and leave text labels exactly on the drawing if you wanted to as well. To actually remove the background, you need to go into your sort of drawing layers and come over here, and you'll see any layers if they are available, so you can actually go through and start to remove the different aspects of the drawing. This can be really helpful at times, as you are able to remove irrelevant bits of information from the drawing to make the drawing a lot clearer if it is quite a busy drawing that you're currently working on. So my particular drawing didn't have any of those available to us, but always give it a check. It is always worth having a look because you can make your life a lot easier by removing them. So once you've actually gone through and you've done everything it is in which you need to do, simply switch over back to the estimate tab, where we can go through, and as we can see here, it's actually started building up our different relevant costs for us for particular items. Or if it's excavating the sort of labour only, the only things I have on that is more of a site cost, which any of this information that's missing, by the way, you can simply just click there and input that information in. You also have the ability to fold up your assemblies, as well as being able to fold up your sections, just to make it a little bit neater and easier whilst you're working on it. If there is some sort of global things it is that you would like to apply, so for example, if I would like to apply markup onto all of my site labour, but I don't want to particularly go in there and fill it all out, we can come down here over on the bottom left, and you can actually start to fill out this information, and then you'll be able to see on your screen it will actually fill that all out for you. I of course still have the ability to go to particular areas and overwrite that to a different figure if I needed to, but if I wanted to apply anything by to quite a large quantity of items, you're definitely best off coming down here and doing it. Now you do also have the ability to include any prelims, provisional sums, or any subcontract quotations that you also would like to allow for on this particular quotation, then you can do so. Now, one thing that is worth mentioning is the fact of if you are using a database which gets updated quite regularly, you will always have the ability to recalculate your project. So your project will initially stay at the price that it was calculated on, and then you can always come here and recalculate it, which will go through and search the database and find any updated projects and update that at any given point to you, whether that is the next day or in a few months' time. So once you've actually gone through and you've added everything in which you need to, and you've done all of your markup, what you're probably going to want to do now is actually produce some of the reports. So if you just come up here to this Estimates Reports button, give that a press, and this will actually load up the different documentation in which we can automatically generate, as well as actually being able to say with the assembly that we've used how we would actually want to view that, and a couple of documentation reports that we can load up where we could actually have preset drafts and make any amendments just for this particular quotation if we wanted to. But what I'll do is I'll just load up some basic things such as the tender summary and a summary of quantities for procurement and a schedule of rates. So I've selected everything I'd like. I simply just press the generate button, and then that's going to load that up on our screen one by one. So the first one is the tender summary. So this is giving us the breakdown using our section structure, as well as telling us of our different drawings to tell us where the different prices are. So as you can see, if I'd actually gone through and done all of my markup properly, it would have filled out this information here for us. Now, if this is something that you did want to export out of the system, whether that be for your client or your own reference, select which file type you'd like it to be, and then simply come over here and press the Export Report button. So as soon as you press this, this is going to tell you that this particular report we're looking at has been exported. Would we like to open the reports folder, which can also be found using the Cloud Documents button. So that will allow us just to open that up nice and quickly, see the particular report we've exported, and then just like we did before, copy and paste that actually back to our own desktop. So I'm going to use this method here, and then I can just paste it in like so. And so now that's actually back on my local computer. Now, of course, I could have done this through any of the methods of going through the Cloud document anyway. And then simply press cancel, and that will load up your next report, and you can repeat that process again, or simply just read the information if you wanted to. So that will be it, and then you would have all of the relevant information for this particular project. And then one thing you want to make sure before you finish it is make sure you just press your little save icon up here to actually save the project. When you go to leave a project, in any case, it will always ask you, would you like to save and exit, or exit without saving. So you've always got that as your little bit of a backup. Now, I said you can actually pull off your own drawings as well after you've completed them. So all you have to do for that is click on your cloud storage, go into your project, select the project which you've done. As you can see there, they've got matching project codes, and I can go through then to my drawings, and then I could get the various different versions of that. And simply once again just copy and paste that back onto your own computer, or navigate through the folder structure. Now, if you need any help with any of this information that we've gone through today, please just go to your support button and contact us through by any of the different options in here. Thank you. Bye bye.